out, but thank you, Lindsay, because every time I listen to that song, I'm reminded, yeah, it all fades into God. It all mistakes, all the ways that we think that we fail, it all just fades right into God. That all-powerful, almighty spirit of good and life, and it transforms into something beautiful and new. Well, good morning. And I'm gonna do a pre instead of a post. Happy Veterans Day. Do we have any veterans in the house? If so, you're already standing. Any other veterans? They stand. Thank you. If you are watching us virtually, stand up, and I hope somebody else is around you, and let them applaud you. We'll applaud you too. Thank you for all that you've done to help support and serve and keep our country safe. I appreciate it, and I know everyone else here does. And I just want to take a moment and honor a couple people, and I want to honor them in prayer in the spiritual mind treatment. We have two people who one will be away for a little bit, one will be away for a little bit longer, and that is John Broderick. He will be having a little procedure done on his heart, and he hopes to be back in fully functioning in a couple weeks. And so I just want us to speak our word of truth to collectively, knowing that the hands of God are the hands of the surgeons. And I also want us to honor and show great gratitude to Steve Huebner, because he, as of the 17th, he's off to Maine again. Yes? For good, for keeps this time, yeah? Maybe, who knows? But all I know is that I'm grateful for both of these men in my life, and I know that our community wouldn't be what it is without them. So I want to just invite you to move into prayer with me for a moment. I'm just recognizing right here and now, as I take a deep breath, I know that I am breathing life, the life of God, the life of that divine something that created the cosmos, the solar system, this earth, that divine intelligence that created this earth in just such a way that it could create life in this way. I know that spirit is health. I know that it is perfect peace. I know that it is joy. I know it is immortality and eternality. And I know that I live in it. I know that I live within this thing that I call God, the great good. And I know that knowing that there is only one life, one mind, one heartbeat, one breath, that each and every one who hears my voice and beyond is living this one life with me. And I'm knowing the truth right now, and I am collectively speaking my word of spiritual authority, knowing that everyone feels with the power of God, the power of truth, the words that I speak. I know that John lives by means of the divine alone. I know that there is an intelligence within this beautiful mind of God that siphons through the arms of humans, the brains of these beloved beings, these children of God. And that any and everyone, from the nurses to the surgeons, to the social workers or respiratory therapists or the nutritional staff, that every single one of them who encounters John in his experience brings nothing but good, nothing but peace, nothing but joy and harmony and help and support. And so in my mind, which lives within that divine mind, I see a spiritual prototype of John's heart as healthy and well and pumping fully and actively. And as for Steve, I know that he has been this light of life within our community, the light of sound of the ears of God to us. That he is the child of the Most High, and no matter where he goes on his adventure of life, he is surrounded by a community that calls him family, that he is loved and supported and nurtured in ways that he cannot even imagine. And I hold him in this space, filled with love, with kindness, with care and compassion. So much gratitude. So much gratitude exudes out of me, out of every one of us, out of life, for these two beloveds, these two children of the Most High. And so I give my words to that infinite law, that law of life, that law of mind, that law that says, yes, Nicole, yes. And so it is done. And so it is. Yeah. Doesn't that feel good? We got it all squared away. We know what is what, and we don't have to worry. Yes? I want to share with you, I've been studying a lot of Maya Angelou because she's so cool. Have you ever noticed? She's just like, she's been through a lot, and she's not rigid. She's not, she has not been jaded. She's been like opened, and she's this, not anymore. Now she's an immortal, whatever she is. But the words that she speaks with such wisdom. And so I was listening to a story she was telling about something that her grandma would say to her. And it's these 3 little secrets to living a successful life. And anytime she sees, so Maya Angelou had in her home this Phoebe painting, and it was reminding her of her grandmother's prayer circle that she had. And there was always this one empty chair. And so anytime she needed support or help or guidance, she would go to this painting in her house, and she would imagine her grandmother sitting there, and she would ask her. And I'll wait till the end of our message to share with you what her grandmother would say. But just think about it. Think about what her grandmother would say to you. And then this week, I don't know about you, but for me this week, not even just the election, just the whole freaking week. I don't know if it's because there was 2 moons in July or in August or what, but this week has just been kind of nutty. What I realized is, how much time do you think you waste in worry? Maybe like give an average, 3 hours a week, maybe? You think you waste probably 3 hours a week in worry? Anybody more or less? More? Maybe 5, 10, maybe 20? Maybe how many in a day? How many hours a day do you think you spend worrying? 1.6? Okay. I don't know if Pam's saying 0 or I'm just kidding. She's just pulling her hair back. Tony, how many hours a week do you think you waste in worry? Some? A lot. Oh, a lot. Yeah. I was thinking about that. I was thinking, why about anything, when it's my kids or if it's here or meeting a person and having to have a conversation or anything. Why do I waste so much time worrying about what the outcome might be when the outcome is going to be what the outcome's going to be because of how I showed up to it, or because of conditions outside of my control? And so basically I wasted a whole chunk of my time worrying about something that I had no business worrying about. Or maybe I felt like I had business worrying about it, but it didn't really do much for anybody else in my life, because when I worry, I get kind of like, the kids are like, ooh. You know what that means? Like, oh, mom's worrying. My worry turns into snappy anger. So Theodore Roosevelt, he said, he said, if I could kick the person in the pants responsible for most of my trouble in life, I wouldn't be able to sit down for a month. What do you think? Do you agree? But then on the other side of it, we've got Jesus over here. Okay, we got Theodore Roosevelt and Jesus, right? So Jesus over here saying in Matthew chapter 6, he says, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life. Because these people, they were worried, what what do we, like, I guess the pagans at the time, they're always worried about what they wear, what they look like, what kind of food they're going to have, how they're going to be, all of this. And Jesus said, you know, do not worry about your life. Seek first a connection, and now I'm paraphrasing and turning it into my own metaphysician thing. Seek first a connection, and the will of Spirit will give you all that you need. Have you ever been without what you needed? I mean, you're still here. Some of you are quite thin, so maybe you don't have enough food, or maybe you're just healthy. But have you ever had to go without for so long that anybody? So we've always been given what we needed, yes? So why do we spend so much time worrying? Like worrying that we're in lack, or not going to have enough money, or we don't know where our next job's going to come from, or why do we do that when we know? And we don't even need to read the Bible to know, because I knew this, and I feel kind of awkward saying that I grew up in religious science, so I don't know the Bible. That's not really how it goes. It's just how it goes for children who grew up. When we worry, we can change it. When we notice that we're worrying, this is what my grandma used to say. My grandma used to say, everything's right about a right idea. Maybe she got that from Holmes, maybe it's somebody else's quote, but that's what she used to tell me. She said, Nicole, you don't need to worry, because everything's right about a right idea. So if it's right, it'll work out. And if it's not, then it won't. Because everything's right about a right idea. And so I think that we need to make a decision to maybe catch ourselves in our worry. And maybe we feel a responsibility to worry, like, well, somebody has to. No. The higher thing, the more helpful, healthy thing to do would be to pray, would be to say an affirmation, would be to maybe do a loving kindness meditation. If we're worried about another person or another decision or another situation, that would be really helpful. Then we would be really doing our part, right? And we need to make a decision. I'm not going to waste one more day of my life living in fear, in scarcity, in doubt, in misery. Have you ever had an experience where you lived day after day in such worry that you've literally felt miserable? It's like, it's soul sucking. It doesn't feel good at all. And yet, at any moment, we can turn our face away from that, because it's all a false belief, and turn our face towards, metaphorically speaking, towards the divine, towards truth. We don't have to live in pain. We don't have to live in misery, in uncomfortable situations. And yet we do, which is why that is one of my favorite songs when I'm feeling down, because sometimes we feel like failures. Sometimes we feel like we made mistakes. But we have to remember that seed, right, it has to go into that bleakest, darkest ground and doesn't know what the heck is going on. And yet water and nutrients and soil all come together to germinate this seed, right? We just can't see what's happening. And we can worry and worry and worry about it, or we can know that God's got it. But we really have to have a pretty firm belief and faith in whatever it is that we consider God to be. And then I think every morning and every night, maybe this comes from the 12-step program, but for myself, I have to check myself every night or every morning and say, okay, where am I still holding grudges? Who am I still irritated with? Who am I still hurt from? What's still bothering me? And then I need to get over it or talk to the person, right? I've found getting the honor to be a minister here, there's two things that I have learned to do and am happy to do it. Apologize and course correct. Apologize and course correct. Those are two things. Apologize and course correct, because we make mistakes, you know? Nobody knows how to do everything perfectly all the time. And there's no need to continue, for me, personally speaking, to continually worry if I'm doing right, if I'm doing okay. I'll know, somebody will tell me, believe me, and then I'll get to apologize and course correct. And until then, I get to wake up in the morning, say, is there anything hard on my heart? If it is, I pray and know that there's a divine something way greater than I am that's going to just allow it to melt away for the moment, so that I can say, because I really do love to say this, today is the day that Spirit has made. Let us rejoice and be glad. Like, we're alive today. Do you have any friends or family members who have passed away? Any of you? What if we just felt into getting to live for them and for ourselves, you know? My brother died when he was 19, so a lot of things that I do in my life, I think, like, I'm going to really live today so that not only have I lived, but those around me have felt alive too. Living in the spirit of. And so we take inventory on what we're worrying about, what we're in fear about and lack about, and then we see how much space is that taking up? How much space in your life, say in one day, 24 hours, how much space is worry and fear taking up? And how much room are you leaving to practice your beliefs? Unless those are your most powerful beliefs, right? Unless being in fear is the most powerful belief, and being in worry and wasting our life away, worrying. These are things that I've been doing lately, and I realize it does feel a lot easier to live when I can remember that there's a certain amount of space in a day, and how I show up to it will determine how I feel and how the people around me feel, and how good is it to know that maybe we can be just that one small place or space in the world where somebody else doesn't have to be worried or in fear, or doesn't perpetuate it, right? Maybe we are not like trying to, but then we like make a snarky comment, or we're like, oh, did you hear? That's all part of it, right? So this is what Maya Angelou, let me get a drink of water. So Maya Angelou, she would have something heavy on her heart, and she would look at this picture painted by Phoebe. I think it was called, what was it called? Sister Suckle's Funeral. But so there's all these women sitting around in a circle, and there's one empty chair. And so she would go up to that painting and she would say, Grandma, how do I get through this? What do I do in this situation? And she would close her eyes and she would hear her grandma say, just do right, child. Just do right. Just do right. And she would remember, that was the one thing that her grandmother taught her, was that she didn't, especially back in those days, it was probably a lot less common. Her grandmother didn't raise her by do as I say, not as I do. Were you raised that way? Do as I say, not as I do? Some people were, yeah. and others weren't. And she says, I never grew up that way. I grew up with do as I say, and I am trying my best. Do as I say, and that is just do right. And I'm trying my best to just do right too. And there's this special magic that happens when we let go of worry and we let go of our fears and we let go of being consumed by wasting so much of our life. And she says, when I remember that, when I teach that to my students now, just do right. And what does that mean? Well, what feels right? What feels like the right thing to do? She says it will satisfy your soul. It will protect you better than any bodyguard. People will add you to their prayers just by speaking your name or thinking your face in their thoughts. They will be adding you to their prayers. And then one day you'll either become the kind of person that when people talk about you, they say, oh, that Anne-Marie, remember how lovely she was? Remember all those beautiful, beautiful cards she used to send me? Or they might be like, oh, remember that Reverend Nicole? She was so grouchy and mean and worried all the time. You know, what is your legacy gonna be? When people think about you, what is it you want them to think about? And it's as simple as this: to live a successful life, listen to Spirit's voice within you, because it's there. Behind that big, loud ego of ours, it's there. Listen, and just do right. Just do right. And we take up the battle. We live our life in a way that there won't be regrets later. We won't have spent our time in fruitless virtue and self-righteousness, thinking that, judging everyone else and being like that. We'll take up the battle and make the world a better place. And we don't need to make any grand gesture in this. We just do right. Just do right. I think that's a new tattoo. Just do right. And so it is.
Thank you so much, Reverend Nicole.
That my mom, I asked her last night. Sorry, Lindsay. I asked my mom last night, because my mom's a congregant here. She listens on Facebook. I said, what do you feel like? What do you need? What kind of message do you need right now? And she said, I want to hear about peace and harmony. I hope in some small way, Mom, that brought you some peace. And I know that it will bring you harmony as we being family, work on each other. So I love you all. Thank you.